Famous quote of Jake Jagler: "You were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win." When it comes to the preparation of the legal exam, most of the law aspirants get worried about how to start and when to start their preparation. In such a situation, it becomes important to be well aware about the exam pattern and some strategies that will help them crack legal exams and delivering the right approach to prepare. Good evening, everyone. I'm Srishti, a member of Legal Vidya. We proudly invite you all for our second webinar on the right way to approach and crack legal exams. Our website, Legal Vidya, intends to provide legal awareness by providing general content on laws, legal system, legal news, and updates. The idea behind Legal Vidya was to provide in-depth and brief analysis of law field to students and any legal enthusiast. The eminent speaker of the day is Mr. Harsh Pratap Singh. Mr. Harsh Pratap Singh is currently pursuing LLM from LSU, Bangalore. He appeared not only for one but various law exams and achieved rank of AIR 114 for CLAT PG in 2022, rank of AIR 9 in AILAT PG. He also cracked ILI NET in 2022 and achieved rank of AIR 15 in DU LLB entrance exam in 2018. I would like to thank Sir for taking out his precious time and knowledge which he will bestow. Now, I'd like to invite our speaker, Mr. Harsh Pratap Singh, to start this webinar. Please, sir.
Hi, am I audible to everybody?
Yes, sir, you are.
First of all, thank you so much, Susu, for that wonderful introduction. And my apologies to everybody for this sort of informal setup that you can see behind me. I'm speaking from my car, actually. I'm attending this webinar from my car. And also, the setup is not very professional, very formal. Coming to the idea of holding this webinar, having given a lot of law entrance tests during the last 4-5 years, and now studying at National Law School, Bangalore, I see a lot of difference between students, who study for the entire year wholeheartedly to appear in an examination. I urge you all to very carefully just focus on the words that I use. Okay. So there is a huge difference between students who study wholeheartedly to appear for an exam, and yet, as experience has shown me, and I'm sure most of you would agree, that working all year round throughout the year does not guarantee you success in any of the examination. No matter whether the examination is for PG entrance tests, UG entrance tests, or any government competitive examination, studying itself is not sufficient. Now, when I see youngsters who are first preparing for entrance tests to get admitted to the LLB program across different universities in the country, I see a very common mistake that most people make. So, in this webinar, I'll try to sort of bust some of the misconceptions that most of us have regarding preparations for any examination. I hope that these principles, so to say, would help you not only in any or all of your future appearances in any legal competitive examinations, but across the board, even for government competitive examinations, these suggestions might help you. So I'll try to divide this webinar into two parts. Firstly, wherein I'll share my experience, why I decided I should be doing my LLM. Firstly, why did I go to Delhi University to do my LLB, and why am I doing my LLM? Why should you do LLM? I'm assuming that most people attending this webinar are already studying law, are already students of the LLB program, if I'm not wrong. But in any case, if there are any parents attending, for instance, or if there is any school student attending this webinar who wants to ask me questions pertaining to why LLB in the first place, please feel free to ask me in the second part of this webinar, wherein I'll open the floor for questions. So, firstly, why LLM? I mean, all of us, I'm assuming, since I said, are doing their LLBs, I'm assuming, are law students. So all of us have our different and varied reasons for doing law. I had my own reasons. Initially, I wanted to get into litigation. Then it dawned upon me that I did not have the patience of just grinding myself through that process of 5 to 6 years of learning litigation and then making a name for myself in that field. So things changed, and now my preferences have slightly changed. We'll get to that later. But why LLM? That's the basic question. Even after LLB, apart from litigation, you have a lot of options. Besides litigation, you can, I believe I do not even need to tell you about all the options that are available to LLB graduates. Most people used to at least decide to do their LLMs because they wanted to basically open up an additional field or profession or career path for themselves, which is academia. So, for instance, if you want to teach at a college or a university, having an LLM is the basic minimum requirement. You also need to clear the UGC NET exam, and as the news that all of us are getting nowadays, even if PhD might soon become mandatory for across the board. Right now, it is mandatory for traditional universities. Soon enough, it might become mandatory for even colleges, teaching in colleges. So the charm of LLM traditionally used to be that it was basically the gateway to get into academia. But in the last 2-3 years, we've seen that the consortium of national law universities, which conducts the CLAT exam, especially the CLAT PG exam, it signed up an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with several public sector undertakings, PSUs, based on which they reached an understanding that these PSUs, the way they hire engineering graduates through GATE, they'll be hiring their legal officers from CLAT PG. So candidates who secure a good enough rank in CLAT PG have a good possibility, have a good chance of landing a very high-paying job at a PSU. One of the PSUs that have the MOU with the consortium. So that has become an additional and a very strong reason for students to appear in CLAT PG. I know individuals who have no plans of studying further than their LLBs, but the bright prospects of getting a lucrative job at one of the PSUs has actually compelled them to start preparing for CLAT PG. Not even that, students who already have done their LLMs, students who have already graduated from the finest national law universities in India, attempt and re-attempt CLAT now, or at least plan to do so, until they get a good PSU job. That is why you see that earlier, what used to happen was a candidate who used to get AIR 1 was somebody who wanted to get into, say, NLSI, right? And given the fact that there are hardly 30-35 seats, unreserved seats for candidates, but the person who used to get the rank 36, that is the number of seats plus 1, that rank, did not get that college. So that was the level of competition, and that was basic. Since everybody just wanted to get a seat into NLUs, so only the serious candidates who wanted to do their LLMs decided to give CLAT PG or other such exams. Now, at least in CLAT, what happens is that you get a rank of, say, 100, and still you get a seat at, say, NLS or NALSA, which has seats like 30-35 general seats only. The reason is that amongst the top 100 rank holders, there are at least 50 such people who already have done their LLMs or are simply just interested in getting a PSU rank, and that's why they give these exams. So when the merit list comes out, despite getting the rank of, say, 100, as my rank was 114, you get into into NLSIU or other top universities. So interestingly, despite getting a rank of 114, in my batch, when you see the serial numbers, which is based on the respective ranks of my batch mates, my rank is somewhere way above. It's not the point. I'm not telling you what my exact rank is, but the point is that if you actually want to do your LLM and not just intend to get placed in one of the PSUs, you do not need to be disheartened. You do not need to feel that if I do not get a top 50 rank, I will not get a seat into NLSI or NALSA. All right, that's the point. Now, coming back to why LLM, as I said, it basically serves as a gateway to two fields now. One is academia, the other, as I said, is the newly opened avenue for BSc placements. Furthermore, there are some of my classmates. I did not used to believe this earlier, but now that I've seen it through my own eyes, I now I'm compelled to believe it. There are some individuals who actually want to litigate after LLM. Since LLM per se does not, add any at least perceptible practical value to your litigation career, it contributes in more ways than one, other different ways. It helps by basically refining your understanding of the law. For example, an LLB student might know what the law is, but an LLM student, someone who has done their LLM, can even argue with you why that law is or if that law is necessary, and he can give you some very solid, foundational, very pointed arguments that an LLB graduate might find, very hard to provide. So LLM brings refinement. Okay. LLM brings refinement in the sense that some of you who may be doing their 3-year LLBs and prior to that have done graduation in a different field. For instance, I have done BCom before my LLB from Delhi University. So I wanted to sync both these degrees, my BCom and my LLB. I wanted to really sync them up and do my LLM with a corporate view. So for me, LLM was one of the ways in which I could actually certify myself as a corporate lawyer. So that can be an additional reason. So if you, for instance, have done political science as your graduation, and then thereafter you've done your LLB, and you want to, for instance, specialize in human rights or constitutional law, then LLM is the right, course for you, right direction for you. Now, coming to my, the first statement that I made, the first, objection that I raised, that I've observed, it is that most people are unable to differentiate, make a distinction between studying and preparing. It's very common for you to, come across an individual who says that I'm studying for an exam, right? But that is a flawed strategy and also that is a flawed statement. You study during your LLBs, all right? You study a year before your exam. You study even 3 months, until 3 months before your exam. What is studying? Studying is building your foundation, in providing input to your brain, providing information to your brain, learning new things. That is going to serve as a foundation for the different exams that you give. Just a foundation. I'm yet personally to come across a person who says that I'm preparing for an XYZ exam and therefore I'm studying for it, and I intend to cover all the books, the entire syllabus that I need to cover for this exam, and I've done it all. You'll never find an individual who would have studied everything. I'm saying studying, I'm not saying preparing. There's a difference between these words as I explain it to you. So studying is something that you do for your own self. You build your knowledge. You refine your understanding of the different concepts. It's almost a spiritual process. You do it at your own pace. You do it in ways that suit your style. That is studying. You can study by watching YouTube videos. You can study through books, obviously, the most traditional way. You can study by discussion. Enhancing your knowledge, refining your skills, that is study. What is preparation? Preparation is an entirely different ballgame. Most students who fail in who fail to get a very good rank in these different exams, and I'm again saying I'm not limiting this argument to just legal competitive examinations. I mean across the board if you see. For example, if you know somebody who's preparing for an exam like UPSC, you may know of several examples. People who study, across throughout the year, people who study day in, day out, study and say, and yet fail to clear even the prelims. And on the other hand, you see someone who's extremely smart but extremely lazy, doesn't study much, but days before the exams, he goes into a different mode. He starts preparing and he clears that examination. Right? So, first and foremost, and this is by far the most important thing that I've learned in my journey as a student so far, is that there is a tremendous difference between studying and preparing. Study for your own self, you refine your skills, you enhance your understanding of the concepts, right? You do it for your own satisfaction. Then comes preparation. For example, let's say you're targeting to clear an exam that is, say, 3 months down the line. You realize that the syllabus of that examination is such that you have studied it during your LLB days. For instance, let's just take the LLM examination. If I'm not wrong, I think including today, we have 63, 64 days left for CLAT PG or CLAT UG that we held on December 18th, right? Let's just talk about that exam from this perspective. Now you have almost 2 months for that exam. Now, if you decide that, I haven't studied anything for this exam, you have to clear the whiteboard first. I need to learn every concept that I've missed in law school first and foremost, and then start preparing for that examination. Let me tell you, that is a very flawed strategy. Do not fall prey to it. All of us are tempted, rather, very strongly tempted by this idea of perfection. That I will first and foremost study everything that I've missed or that I've already studied in my law school. I will learn the law that I was supposed to learn in 3 years in these 2 months, and then after I will appear for this examination. That is a flawed strategy, right? Do not give yourself the guilt of not knowing enough. You actually have to be practical enough to tell yourself that this is an examination wherein almost everybody will come unprepared as to, having covered the entire syllabus. Nobody would have done that, right? So when you have 2 months, if you had a year, if you have had an entire year, I would have recommended that you go back to the basics, right? You study actually, and for 3 to 4 months before the exam, you close your books and you start preparing. Now, what is preparation? As I said, why do you study? You study for your own satisfaction. You study for your own personality, character, intellectual development, right? You study to build a solid foundation. Why do we prepare? We prepare to actually be confident enough to sit through that examination of 2 to 3 hours. That is what preparation is. Preparation prepares you to sit in that examination that is not going to last more than 2 hours or 3 hours. For that, what do you need to do? You need to put yourself in that zone, in that time bound high pressure zone, wherein you solve questions, wherein after seeing the syllabus and the previous year question papers and after analyzing what kind of questions are asked, what is the difficulty level, right? You just practice questions. You learn from your questions. For instance, if you have to suppose finish international law, right, for LLM, and you have say 7 days, would you go back to a book and read it in its entirety and then be convinced that okay, after having just read it once, I have understood and I will remember everything? It's not possible. What would be a more plausible and practical strategy? You take some questions. Suppose you take a question bank of 500 questions. You read those questions. If you are very scared of answering them wrongly, beforehand just mark the answers to those questions in your booklet and then read them as one liners. Example would be, suppose the question is what is XYZ, and there are four options. The correct one you mark, and then you can make it a sentence in your mind that okay, XYZ is this, right? So that is how you should prepare. You should prepare always with utmost practical approach. And when I say this, I'm saying this because I feel like I'm qualified to say this. Uh, I gave 3, 4 exams in very close succession 3, 4 months back, and I got really great ranks in those exams. Not because I knew, not only because I knew the law fairly well, I say, because I did study also, but I did not fall prey to the temptation of just, you know, keep studying. I did not fall prey to the temptation of, oh, I must complete this book before I start attempting the questions. So, coming back to the original idea, what is preparation? Preparation is simple. Days before the exam, you start to acclimatize yourself, you start to prepare yourself to sit through that exam. So that when you go in that and you see that question paper, you are not overwhelmed. You do not feel like, oh, this is something that is happening. You do not basically get that sensation that this is happening with me for the first time. You're prepared for that feeling. You're prepared for that feeling of not knowing the questions, right? So there is no way that you're going to know each and every answer to every question. What you can do is you can learn to be prepared that even if you don't know the answer to some questions, that will not hamper your confidence during those 3 hours, and you'll be able to move to the next question and answer them correctly. Right? So that is preparation. You differentiate between studying and preparing. If you are targeting CLAT 2023, given that it's just 2 months away, stop studying, start preparing. Attempt as many questions as you can, join as many mock tests as you can. If there is one thing that you can study, that you can learn by reading, just focus on the recent judgments. All right. Uh, so I believe that was the major gist of what I wanted to emphasize. I mean, this is something that is, I believe, a common knowledge to all of us, but still not enough emphasis is laid on how important this distinction is. You see your friends who even just a day before an examination would be reading for the first time and act like the CPC. There's no point to that. You are just succumbing to your anxiety. You're just succumbing or falling prey to this anxiety or fear of not knowing enough. Trust me, it is a race. You're competing not against yourself or against perfection. You're competing against individuals who are like you, imperfect, who have not studied everything in its entirety, right? So prepare now. As I said, attempt questions, give mock tests, uh, analyze the questions that you answered wrongly, make a solid strategy so that when you go into that examination hall, you know how to approach that question paper so that nothing surprises you. So that whenever you feel like, okay, I'm doing a lot of questions that I have no idea about and I'm attempting them in the wrong manner, that doesn't hamper your attempt of the questions that you know the answers to, right? So always remember this distinction and just be very practical about all these things. Do not indulge in any of the things that I mentioned. So if we are to discuss about, say, the different LLM examinations. There is CLAT, there is ILET, which is the entrance exam for National Law University, Delhi. There is the entrance test to Delhi University LLM program, which is for 2 years and 3 years. There are other different examinations. There is the entrance test to the Indian Law Institute, from where I'm speaking to you right now. So there are all these different examinations, and all of these require different approaches, right? So a good preparation strategy would entail that you download the syllabus first of all these different examinations. You see what they are actually seeking in a candidate. For example, if you see the syllabus for CLAT, it is very clearly mentioned that most of the portion would be asked from constitutional law from constitutional law. So it doesn't make any sense that you start preparing for CLAT and say, for instance, that you started reading CPC, right? You focus on the practical, you focus on what matters, right? You go to the different websites, check the syllabus, identify what subjects require more emphasis, you start with them, you practice as many questions of that subject as you can, you learn in the process, and you just gain confidence that I can do this, I can do these questions, I can, even if I make an informed guess, that guess would be, more likely to be correct than anyone else's attempt, right? So you keep doing that. So night preparation would entail definitely that you do not follow a straight jacket formula, you do not follow a one size fit all approach for every examination. The structure for CLAT is entirely different from the structure of IELTS or from ILIT. These three are very different exams, all right, and they also happen in very close succession. Hopefully, from next year, this will change because CLAT is going to be held in December. IELTS most likely will be held next year only. Uh, so, different exams, different strategies. It's your wisdom and it's your competence how you divide your time to actually master these different, these different styles of answering these different styles of question papers. So that is what preparation is, right? You study when there is no deadline. When there is a deadline, you prepare, right? So I'm not discouraging any one of you to stop studying. You must study. If you do not study, actually there is no point of having a good preparation. But I'm just emphasizing on the fact that most law students, like I am, after having done their LLB, face this dilemma that maybe I haven't read or studied law in its entirety, and that is why maybe I'm not, worthy of clearing any of these LLM examinations or judicial examinations, even for instance. Do not succumb to that guilt, right? Because that's true for every law student. You read for your own, character development. You read for your own personality development, but preparation is different. So, if I may, Srishti, can I open the floor for any questions now?
Yes, sir. Guys, if anybody has any query, kindly please text in the chat box that shall be dealt later.
Also, Shriti, what we can do is if there are any queries that require elaborate, like me to answer elaborately, I'll share it with my email ID. Kindly share that with your group, and I can answer those queries on mail.
Yes, sir. It
What
will
I'll do
be
is I'll switch on my video now. I'll just see the chat box if there are any questions, and if there are, I'll be happy to answer them right now. All right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hello, Jyoti. What's your question? Kindly post your question in the chat box. Okay, Shubham has asked the question. If we are taking a drop for CLAT, shall we take 1 year or 2 year? I'm assuming, Shubham, that you mean that the preparation for CLAT examination. All right. Okay. until CLAT is cleared or shall start with any university? Right. Basically, that's a tricky question simply because there is no simple answer to this question. It depends. It depends on your circumstances. It depends on your patience level. CLAT per se is an exam that can very easily be cleared with with 4 to 6 months preparation. And by clearing, I don't just mean that getting into any NLU. By clearing, I mean getting into a good NLU. If your objective is to just get into any NLU, you can do that with hardly 1 month of preparation, right? So an exam like that requires only and see, honestly, you can still do it 2 months, but you just need to study more and practice more questions. So ideally, 4 or 3 to 6 months of preparation, depending on your caliber and your interest and your passion to clear this exam, that is sufficient. But yes, if you fail to actually clear CLAT with a very good rank, and suppose you're getting an NLU that is not worth its name, I believe there are some very good options in private universities, given the fact that all of us should remember that NLUs charge a very high fee. So there is actually absolutely no cost saving when it comes to deciding between an NLU or say an Amity University. They charge almost equal fee. So if you feel like you're getting into a college that is say not that great according to its own academic record or placement records or its reputation in academia, I'll say that going for any private college is not a bad option, right? But yeah, I mean, taking a 1 year gap for that to me at least doesn't make sense. You can easily prepare for this exam in less than 6 months of time. Even if you start today for the 2023 attempt, I think you can make a very decent, you can give a very decent attempt. And if, God forbid, you do not clear the exam with a good rank, surely you can go to private university. Harshit has asked what would be one of the many strategies to answer questions, be it prelims or mains, in the stipulated time, like at the time of the examination. Right. So mains, I don't know. I mean, if you're asking me about judicial services mains strategy, I think that requires a different session, but I'll answer very briefly. See, if you compare the different, first they talk about judicial services exam. So if you compare the different state judicial services exams, you'll find out that there is a different strategy required to be employed for different states. For example, you cannot, because the kind of questions that are asked in these different state judicial services exams are very different. The kind of questions that they ask you in Rajasthan are entirely different from the kind of questions that they ask you in Delhi judicial services. So that is going to be very different for different state services. And how do you reach that point where you are able to actually identify the different strategies and employ the best out of them? You do it by actually attempting those question papers and getting your answers checked by somebody who has either cleared that examination, if you're fortunate enough to know somebody who has cleared those examinations, or who is experienced, right? And that is why most people for judicial services, they join coachings, not just to revisit the things that they've learned in law school and relearn them, but also to regularly just get objectively evaluated on where they stand, what kind of answers are they writing, right? So for judicial services, what kind of strategy to employ, you'll reach that, you'll be able to answer that question after you started. It's a trial and error method. You simply cannot get into the preparation of any examination with a very clear idea of how you're going to clear it. You make mistakes, you learn, and then you employ the best option, right? For that, if I may, the best strategy would be that more than spending time on learning the law, if you see the previous set question papers for CLAT and IELTS also, they require that you read, faster, as compared to an average individual. That requires speed reading techniques. Okay, so in CLAT, for instance, most of you would know, they ask you, they give you 20 passages followed by 6 questions each, which equals to 120 questions in 2 hours. 120 questions that you can only reach after having read a very long passage. Now you have to read that passage, you have to read the question and the options, you have to write beside the answer, then mark the answer on the OMR sheet, right? So in order to finish the paper on time, what you have to do is you have to basically learn how to read fast, or basically skip what is not important in the passage. That can only come by practice. That is one strategy that you must absolutely follow, right? Then Shubham has asked another question: what are the benefits of getting into NLUs? The benefits are many. First of all, your classmates, for instance, I have to speak from my experience at NLS so far. I'll say that the biggest benefit is that I sit in a classroom where everybody is very learned, very talented, and basically inspires me every day. As compared to a private university, wherein there is a huge disparity of, I'd say, talent and interest also. So in an NLU, the biggest advantage would be that you'll find individuals who are equally motivated. You'll find individuals who are equally talented as well, and you'll be in a more competitive environment. Apart from that, also there are better career prospects waiting for you. For instance, if you get selected into one of the top five NLUs, definitely it's better as compared to any of the private universities, right? And in the field of academia, let me tell you, it's a bitter truth, but it's true nevertheless. In the field of academia, what matters more than your grades in your LLM is that where you have done your LLM from. Okay, reputation matters, and it is not just what I believe or anyone else believes. If you see the NIRF rankings that are issued every year, right, by the government itself, which analyzes, which basically ranks the different institutions in different fields of education. One of the most important uh, one of the most important criteria, one of the most important indicators of how well an institution is performing or how good an institution is, that what is their public perception, or what is the perception in the minds of the employers. So, for instance, NLS versus NLU Delhi, right? NLU Delhi performed better on many factors than NLS, but when it came to perception, NLS basically ended up coming on top. So the kind of perception that an employer may have of an NLU is something that you should definitely keep in mind. So yeah, basically two things. Apart from that, I cannot say that the quality of education in every NLU is equal. That is definitely not the case. We have recently seen students from NLU Sonipat protesting, actually, complaining about the poor quality of education in their college. And it's hard to believe that it's a college that is situated not very far from Delhi. It's very close by to where Jindal Global University is, and look how well Jindal is doing nowadays, right? So these are different things. You actually first give an exam to see how well you perform, which colleges are within your range wherein you can get admission, and then you do an objective analysis. I won't say that a newly created LLB would be better than every private university. That's not the case. You rely on rankings. You talk to somebody who has done their LLM before. You get through some counseling, and then you make that decision.
If anybody has any further question, he or she may ask. If anyone. Okay. So thank you so much, sir, for this valuable information. Now I would like to invite Ms. Sakshi Sharma, founder of Legal Vidya, for vote of thanks and for the conclusion of the webinar. Please, Sakshi.
Firstly, I'd like to thank you so much, sir, for joining us today on behalf of the organizing team of Legal Vidya. And thank you so much for taking our time and giving us and sharing with us your invaluable knowledge, and also for solving everyone's queries. I guess which solved many other queries which people might not have asked also. I'd also like to thank the team and Shrishti who is hosting this webinar, and to all the participants who are present here. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I loved it. Thank you, Sakshi, for actually, messaging me and getting my number from one of my friends and actually just convincing me to do this. I loved it. Kudos to you and your. I hope you keep on organizing more such discussions and keep on inviting more people like me who are in better position to offer their advice to students. Because I was there, I was attending such webinars last year, right? So just keep on doing it. It's great what you're doing. Thank you.
At last, I'd like to thank you all for attending the webinar. We hope you had fun. With this, I'd like to share one more information. That is, Legal Vidya is organizing one national article writing competition on any social legal issue or any legal issue. Okay.